They told you respect is earned through kindness. That is the most dangerous delusion you will ever carry into a room. You walk into spaces believing that if you are just good enough, fair enough, or humble enough, people will naturally grant you their respect. But look around at the world you actually live in. The kind are dismissed. The fair are exploited. The humble are walked over and forgotten before they even leave the room. The harshest truth about human psychology is this: respect is not a reward for your virtue. It is a response to your presence. It is not given because you deserve it. It is given because something in you triggers an ancient survival mechanism in others that says, this person is not to be tested. 500 years ago, a man sat in exile, stripped of his position, tortured by the very state he once served. He had nothing left but a quill, some parchment, and a mind that had dissected power at its highest levels. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli, and while the world remembers him as the prophet of ruthlessness, they miss the deeper code he was writing. He was not teaching cruelty. He was teaching clarity. He understood that human beings do not respect what they can predict, control, or guilt into submission. They respect what they cannot fully decode. What they cannot manipulate. What stands unmoved when everyone else bends. Today, we are going to decode the 7 traits that trigger instant respect in every room you enter. These are not social tricks. These are not charm tactics. These are the behavioral signatures of power that bypass conscious thought and speak directly to the primal brain. The part of the human mind that still remembers when survival depended on reading dominance hierarchies in seconds. If you embody these traits, you will never have to demand respect again. It will be offered to you automatically, unconsciously, and irreversibly. Pay close attention. The respect you fail to command is the life you fail to control. 1. You speak last, but you speak final. The first trait that makes people respect you instantly is strategic silence followed by decisive speech. Most men enter a conversation like they are trying to prove they deserve to be there. They speak first, they speak often, and they speak loudly, believing that volume equals authority. It doesn't. Volume equals insecurity. The person who speaks first is the person most desperate to control the room. The person who speaks last is the person the room is waiting to hear from. Machiavelli understood that the prince who reveals his position too early loses his ability to adapt. You are currently giving away your leverage the moment you open your mouth. You are letting people know where you stand before you have assessed where they stand. You are showing your cards while everyone else is still hiding theirs. This is why you lose negotiations. This is why your opinions are dismissed. This is why you walk out of meetings feeling like you were never really heard. You spoke, but you did not command. Watch what happens in a business meeting when the actual decision maker is present. They do not jump into the debate. They sit back. They listen. They watch who speaks with confidence and who speaks with desperation. They observe who is trying to impress and who is trying to solve. They gather intelligence while everyone else is performing. And then, when the room has exhausted itself, when everyone has said what they needed to say and the silence starts to feel uncomfortable, that is when they speak. And when they speak, the room goes quiet. Not because they raised their voice, but because their silence earned their words weight. You need to stop treating every conversation like an audition. Stop filling dead air with nervous chatter. Stop explaining yourself to people who have not earned an explanation. When someone asks you a question designed to make you defend yourself, pause. Let the silence sit. Let them feel the discomfort of their own probe. Then respond with precision, not with justification. The man who justifies is the man who doubts his own position. The man who states is the man who expects compliance. Here is the execution. In your next group conversation, say nothing for the first 10 minutes. Watch the room. See who is performing, who is competing, who is actually solving. Then, when you do speak, make it surgical. 1 or 2 sentences that reframe the entire conversation. Do not add to the noise. Cut through it. The room will remember your 2 sentences longer than they remember the other person's 20-minute monologue, because your 2 sentences moved the conversation forward while everyone else was just circling. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, but he also knew that the most powerful men are neither loved nor feared initially. They are underestimated. And that underestimation is their greatest advantage. When you speak last, people assume you have nothing to say. When you speak with finality, they realize you were simply deciding whether they were worth a response. That realization alone shifts the power dynamic permanently. 2. You are unreachable, not unavailable. The second trait is controlled access. You are too available. You respond to messages within minutes. You accept invitations you do not want to attend. You rearrange your schedule to accommodate people who would never do the same for you. You think this makes you reliable. It doesn't. It makes you a resource. And resources are used, not respected. Machiavelli observed that a prince must never make himself so accessible that he becomes predictable. The moment people can predict your response, they stop valuing your presence. You have become furniture in their world. Useful, but not interesting. Present, but not powerful. You are giving away your time, your attention, and your energy to people who have done nothing to earn it, and you are doing it because you fear being seen as cold or difficult. That fear is the leash they use to control you. Think about the people you respect most. Are they always available? Do they respond immediately? Do they drop everything when you reach out? No. They respond when it serves them. They make time when the request is worthy. They operate on their own clock, and you adjust to it, not the other way around. That is not arrogance. That is clarity. They know their time is their most finite resource, and they guard it accordingly. You need to become unreachable by default and available by appointment. Stop checking your phone every 5 minutes like you are on call for everyone else's life. Stop saying yes to events that drain you just because saying no feels uncomfortable. Stop giving immediate responses to people who take days to respond to you. You are teaching people that your time has no value, and they are learning that lesson perfectly. Here is how you implement this. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Respond to messages in batches, once or twice a day, during windows you control. When someone asks for your time, do not immediately accommodate. Check your calendar. Propose a time that works for you. If they are serious, they will adjust. If they are just testing your availability, they will move on to someone easier. Either way, you win. You are no longer reactive. You are deliberate. The people who respect you will respect your boundaries. The people who do not respect your boundaries do not respect you. They just need something from you. Machiavelli understood that the ruler who is always accessible is the ruler who will be overthrown the moment he becomes inconvenient. Do not let convenience be your brand. Let precision be your signature. 3. You reward behavior, not potential. The third trait is that you judge people by their actions, not their words. You are currently surrounded by people who tell you what they are going to do. They have plans. They have dreams. They have intentions. And you believe them because you want to believe in people. You want to see the best in them. But Machiavelli did not build empires on hope. He built them on evidence. Most men respect people for what they say they will become. Powerful men respect people for what they have already done. You are giving your trust, your energy, and your resources to people based on their potential, and then you are shocked when they fail to deliver. You are investing in promises, not performance. This is why you are surrounded by underperformers who keep getting second chances. Watch how this plays out in your life. Someone tells you they are going to start a business, get in shape, or change their habits. You encourage them. You offer help. You check in on their progress. Months pass. Nothing changes. But they are still talking about it, so you still believe in them. You are being manipulated by narrative. They are not trying to achieve the goal. They are trying to maintain your belief in their potential so that you continue to give them the benefits of success without requiring the proof. Machiavelli wrote that men judge by the eye rather than by the hand, for everyone can see but few can feel. He meant that people are seduced by appearance and reputation, but the wise man measures only results. You need to stop rewarding people for their story and start rewarding them for their scoreboard. When someone tells you about their grand plan, smile, nod, and say, "I am excited to see how it turns out." Then watch. Do not invest. Do not advocate. Do not vouch for them until they have shown you the receipts. Here is the shift. In every relationship, business or personal, you stop giving credit for effort and start giving credit for outcomes. The person who says they will have the report done by Friday but delivers it on Monday does not get praised for finishing. They get noted for being late. The friend who says they will show up but cancels last minute does not get understanding. They get downgraded in your priority list. You are not being harsh. You are being accurate. People will call you cold for this. They will say you do not believe in people. Let them. You are not in the business of believing. You are in the business of building. And you cannot build anything on promises. You can only build on proof. The people who deliver without needing constant validation will rise in your world. The people who need you to believe in them before they believe in themselves will stay exactly where they are. That is not your problem to solve. For, you do not explain, you demonstrate. The fourth trait is that you let your results speak louder than your resume. You are over-explaining yourself. Every time someone questions your decision, you launch into a detailed justification of why you made that choice. Every time someone doubts your capability, you list your credentials. Every time someone challenges your position, you defend it with logic, history, and examples. You think this is how you earn respect. It is not. It is how you reveal insecurity. Machiavelli knew that the prince who has to constantly remind people of his authority does not have any. True power does not justify itself. It simply is. When you explain, you are asking for permission. When you demonstrate, you are asserting reality. The difference is everything. Think about the last time someone questioned a decision you made. How did you respond? Did you walk them through your entire thought process? Did you cite your experience? Did you explain why you know better? If so, you lost the exchange. Not because your reasoning was wrong, but because the act of reasoning with someone who does not respect you is an admission that their doubt has weight. You are treating their skepticism as if it is a valid checkpoint you must pass through. It is not. It is a test of whether you will bend. Here is what you do instead. When someone questions your decision, you look at them calmly and say, "I have made my decision." No explanation. No defense. No negotiation. If they push further, you repeat, "I have considered the variables, and this is the direction we are moving." You do not elaborate. You do not justify. You state. And then you move forward as if their approval was never required, because it was not. The mistake you are making is thinking that if people understand your reasoning, they will respect your choice. They will not. Understanding does not create respect. Outcomes create respect. You could have the most brilliant reasoning in the world, but if you have to explain it to someone who doubts you, you have already lost their respect. They do not see a leader. They see someone seeking validation. Machiavelli wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. Stop trying to make people experience your depth through explanation. Let them experience it through observation. Make the decision. Execute it. Let the results speak. When the outcome proves you right, you do not need to say "I told you so." Your silence will say it louder. 5. You are comfortable with conflict, not addicted to peace. The fifth trait is that you do not avoid tension. You navigate it. Most men are terrified of conflict. They will bend themselves into shapes they do not recognize just to keep the peace. They will swallow their boundaries, suppress their opinions, and abandon their standards because confrontation feels dangerous. It is dangerous, but not in the way you think. The danger is not in the conflict itself. The danger is in becoming the kind of man who is too afraid to engage it. Machiavelli understood that the leader who avoids all conflict is the leader who will eventually face a conflict he cannot avoid and will not survive. Conflict is not the breakdown of order. Conflict is the enforcement of it. When you set a boundary and someone crosses it, conflict is not the problem. Their violation is the problem. Your willingness to address it is the solution. But you have been trained to see conflict as failure, so you let violation slide, and in doing so, you train people that your boundaries are suggestions, not laws. Watch how this plays out. Someone disrespects you in a meeting. You feel the sting, but you say nothing because you do not want to make it awkward. A colleague takes credit for your work. You feel the anger, but you let it go because confronting them feels too aggressive. A friend cancels plans last minute for the third time. You feel the frustration, but you text back, "No worries, we will reschedule," because you do not want to seem difficult. Every time you avoid the conflict, you lose a piece of respect. Not just from them, but from yourself. Here is the recalibration. Conflict is not war. Conflict is clarification. When someone crosses a line, you address it immediately, calmly, and directly. You do not escalate. You do not yell. You simply state the reality. That comment was out of line. I led that project, and I expect that to be acknowledged. This is the third time you have cancelled. I am no longer going to make plans with you. No emotion. No drama. Just facts and consequences. The person who can sit in discomfort without flinching is the person who controls the room. Most people cannot handle tension. They will say anything, agree to anything, concede anything just to make the discomfort stop. You are not most people. You let the silence hang. You let them squirm. You let the tension do the work for you. And when they finally break, when they finally try to smooth things over or backtrack or apologize, you do not immediately accept. You let them sit in the consequence a little longer. Not because you are cruel, but because you are teaching them that violating your boundaries has a cost. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be impetuous than cautious, because fortune is a woman, and it is necessary to keep her under control. He meant that hesitation in the face of conflict is perceived as weakness, and weakness invites exploitation. You do not need to seek conflict, but you cannot run from it. The man who is comfortable in tension is the man people think twice before testing. 6. You are consistent, not perfect. The sixth trait is reliability in character, not performance. You are trying to be perfect, and it is making you unpredictable. You have good days where you are disciplined, focused, and unstoppable. Then you have bad days where you are scattered, reactive, and weak. People cannot figure out which version of you they are going to get, so they do not trust you. Not because you are a bad person, but because you are an inconsistent one. Machiavelli observed that men are more loyal to predictable cruelty than to unpredictable kindness. He meant that people can strategize around a consistent pattern, even a harsh one, but they cannot build anything on a foundation that shifts. You are shifting. You say you are going to do something, and sometimes you do it, sometimes you do not. You set a standard, and sometimes you enforce it, sometimes you let it slide. You are dependable in bursts, but bursts do not build empires. Consistency does. Think about the people you respect most. Are they perfect? No. But are they consistent? Absolutely. You know what they stand for. You know how they will respond. You know that their word is a contract, not a suggestion. That consistency is what makes them trustworthy. Not their perfection, but their predictability in the things that matter. You need to stop chasing perfection and start building patterns. Perfection is an event. Consistency is a system. The man who goes to the gym every single day, even if the workout is short, is more respected than the man who has one legendary workout and then disappears for a month. The man who keeps his word 90% of the time is more trusted than the man who makes grand promises he cannot keep. You are being judged on your baseline, not your peak. Here is how you build this. Identify the 3 non-negotiables in your life. The 3 things that, no matter what, you will do every single day. Maybe it is training. Maybe it is checking in with your business. Maybe it is maintaining a specific standard in how you communicate. Whatever it is, those 3 things become law. Not goals. Not aspirations. Law. You do them whether you feel like it or not. Whether it is convenient or not. Whether anyone is watching or not. You do them because you said you would, and your word to yourself is the only contract that truly matters. Machiavelli wrote that the promise given was a necessity of the past, the word broken is a necessity of the present. He was describing the fluidity required in statecraft, but he also understood that the ruler who breaks his word carelessly loses his ability to make future agreements. You are breaking your word to yourself constantly, and it is eroding your self-respect. When you do not respect yourself, no one else will either. People respect the man who shows up. Not the man who shows up perfectly, but the man who shows up regardless. Consistency signals discipline. Discipline signals control. Control signals power. You do not need to be the best in the room. You need to be the most reliable. That alone will set you apart from 90% of the men around you. 7. You do not seek approval, you grant it. The 7th and final trait is that you have inverted the validation economy. You are constantly seeking approval from others. You dress for their opinions. You speak for their reactions. You make decisions based on what will make them think highly of you. You have made other people's perception the currency of your self-worth, and you are bankrupt because that currency is controlled by people who do not care about your success. Machiavelli understood that the prince who needs to be loved will always be controlled by those whose love he seeks. But the prince who grants or withholds his approval becomes the standard by which others measure themselves. You have this backward. You are treating their approval as the prize and your own as irrelevant. This is why you are exhausted. This is why you are resentful. This is why, no matter how much you achieve, it never feels like enough. You are trying to fill a cup that has no bottom. Think about the most respected people you know. Do they care if you approve of them? No. In fact, they operate as if your approval is something you should be trying to earn from them. They set the standard. They define what is acceptable. They are the ones whose nod of acknowledgement feels like a victory because it is rare and it is earned. You are not trying to impress them. You are trying not to disappoint them. That is the inversion of power. Here is the shift you need to make. Stop performing for an audience that is not paying you. Stop explaining your choices to people whose opinions do not fund your future. Stop seeking validation from people you do not even respect. Instead, become the person whose approval others seek. Set a standard so high that when you acknowledge someone's work, it actually means something. When you compliment someone, let it be rare enough that they remember it. When you say well done, let it be because something genuinely impressed you, not because you are trying to make someone feel good. This does not mean you become cold or withholding. It means you become discerning. You stop giving away your praise, your time, and your energy like it is infinite. You make people earn it. And when they do, you give it fully. But you stop acting like your approval is worthless and theirs is gold. You are gold. They need to prove they can handle being in your presence. Machiavelli wrote that men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. Stop allowing yourself to be deceived by the illusion that external validation will ever satisfy you. It will not. The only approval that matters is your own. When you live by your own standards, when you operate by your own code, when you measure yourself against the man you were yesterday instead of the crowd around you today, you become untouchable. Not because you do not care what people think, but because what they think has no power over what you do. If you have made it to this point, you are not like most men. Most people abandon anything that challenges their comfortable illusions within the first 60 seconds. You stayed because you understand that comfort is the enemy of growth, and growth is the only path to sovereignty. If this resonates with the life you are building, like this video and subscribe to the channel. This is not a request for engagement. This is a signal. By subscribing, you are telling the algorithm that you prefer substance over distraction, and the algorithm will continue to serve you accordingly. But understand that we are operating within constraints here. There are truths about human nature, power dynamics, and social warfare that cannot be spoken in the open. The platform has rules. The masses have sensitivities. And the deepest strategies are reserved for those who are serious enough to seek them. That place is the architect level. The join button below this video is the gateway to uncensored breakdowns of influence, dominance, and the mechanics of respect that will never be discussed in public. If you are just here for motivation, stay where you are. But if you want the unfiltered manual for how power actually works, click join. Thank you for your time. Your presence here is proof that you are capable of more than most. The respect you command in the next room you walk into will depend entirely on whether you execute what you just learned. Machiavelli gave you the laws. Now you decide whether you have the spine to live by them. I will see you in the next video.